work-life balance. Is it possible to manage it when you are a startup owner? Keep listening and learn the answer.
Business is always in your mind. You cannot disconnect. You will have always this little voice in your mind saying, hey, you need to do that. Oh, remember, you need to do this.
You are all the time between this line, no? And you are most of the time a little bit past the line, I would say, because you are always working and
go home, take a very hot shower.
Definitely.
Hi, my name is Aya, and in these video episodes, I'm talking with other entrepreneurs and professionals about healthy productivity. If you want to learn more about this, please subscribe to this channel. Today, I'm Lanzadera, a Valencian business startup accelerator that supports entrepreneurs so we can transform their projects into businesses. Isn't it a great place to meet other entrepreneurs and speak about productivity and work-life balance? So today, I want to introduce you two great entrepreneurs and learn some secrets. Let's go. Hi, Nacho and Andreas. So tell us more about yourself, what you do, and what CoolPass does.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you very much for having us today. We are very, very happy. Yeah, my name is Nacho, and I am the co-founder and CEO of CoolPass. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Aya. It's a pleasure for us to be here. Actually, my name is Andreas, and Nacho and I are brothers. I am also co-founder of CoolPass.
So CoolPass, just to let you know, is a platform that makes events creation much easier. From the beginning to the end, you can find a collaborator or other event organizers, you can rent venues, you can find like service providers like photographers or streamings or catering, and you can connect with the people and sell tickets all in one platform.
Today, I would like to speak with you about work-life balance and especially about how to manage it when you are a startup owner. So as a startup founders, who probably have a heavy workload. Do you think it's difficult to manage work-life balance or not?
It really is. It really is. As we know other people, friends and family relatives that are working maybe for other companies, most of the times when the day is finished, is over, they can disconnect and they can separate work from life, right? But in our case, for example, last week we have holidays and still business is always in your mind. You cannot disconnect, and if there's any problem, you cannot say, oh, other will take care of that. It's you, because otherwise nobody's gonna do it. So I think sometimes it's a bit hard to separate because you need to work more and more and more. You need to give always an extra for the job to make it happen, because actually we are starting from scratch. It's not a big company, it's already settled. And I think that is very, very hard because you will have always this little voice in your mind saying, hey, you need to do that. Oh, remember, you need to do this. And oh, there is a problem. You need to solve it because it's like a sudden thing is happening, an emergency. So sometimes it's a bit tiring to have this little voice always in your mind to remember you, hey, don't relax. You need to work always.
And I think an important point is to learn how to cope with this stress, but on the other hand, find small things that allow you to disconnect and allow you to enjoy some kind of free time, and also book free time in your calendar in order to cope with this stress. But yeah, it's a bit difficult to cope.
Actually, many startup owners, not only owners, but the whole team do sprints. I mean, literally, when you have to work to do a lot of things in a very short period of time, it means work harder, faster, longer on weekends. So do you think it's essential to recover your energy later?
It is definitely essential. It's super important if you don't want to end having a burnout. And we have been talking about this quite often. Working in your own startup, in your own project, is not a sprint. Actually, we work on sprints, but on the long term, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You need to be very resilient. And for that to work, you need to find some time to distract yourself, to disconnect. For example, could be doing some sport, like go out jogging, or just strolling in the park, or reading, or watching Netflix, whatever. But you need to find some time, and it's super important to disconnect. And I think it's also pretty important to sometime take some holiday, and during this holiday disconnect 100%, because then you come again and you can work giving your 150%. It's pretty important to find a way to disconnect.
Yeah, and so do you have some special energy rituals, or you just try to get some sleep and that's it?
So, for example, there are a few days that last week where we have been starting working at 9 a.m. and finish at 10 p.m. So, like very long shift. So, what I like to do usually is to go outside, have a little walk just to release your mind or think about your own things, and then go home, take a very hot shower, and then go to bed, read a little bit. Reading, you can release your mind, you can blank out a little bit, and then afterwards you just fall asleep like a little baby. So for me, this helps me a lot.
We also love to eat. Like, we really love to eat, and
We are food lovers.
a kind of a ritual is going to restaurants. This always feels really nice, but it's not something you can do every day.
That is our time, and where we can try to speak about other things that is not work, about ourselves, our daily stuff, but it's our little ritual actually. Yes.
I think it could be eating this, or it could be anything else, but these are the small things. Just get some small things and enjoy them.
Entrepreneurs very often walk a very fine line between productivity and burnout. So are you trying to manage it?
Definitely. I mean, you are all the time between this line, no? And you are most of the time a little bit past the line, I would say, because you are always working, and you don't see the results nearby. If you have a project that is ambitious and you want it to grow a lot, then you need to invest also a lot, and the risk is huge. No, it's a long-term project, so you're working every day. You don't see the results. Most of the times, maybe you are not earning money, and you need to have a financial situation where you can allow this to happen. So I would say you need to be able to cope with this stress, and to put your mind in the perspective of what you are trying to do on the long term, because otherwise you will be depressed, or it might happen that you make a really strong sprint and then you will be tired and you don't have energy to keep going. You know what I mean?
And then in the end you lose the focus. So
So I think you should intentionally plan your recovery times. And
one thing we have always discussed is working together as brothers. Many people say don't mix family and business, right? But in our case, I think we are lucky because we have a very good relationship, and we really appreciate how a solo founders makes their company happen, because we think it's very, very hard. In the end, it's like a lot of cycles of up and downs. And for us, what we see is good for in our relationship is that when one of us is very down, or is maybe a bit depressed, or so you are going through a bad moment, the other is there taking care of you and pulling you. Come on, cheer up, and we need to make this happen. Or if the both of us are down, maybe we just cry together and support each other, cuddling a little bit, and this helps a lot. So I think also relationship and brotherhood is very, very important.
But not only being brothers, it's amazing because we know each other really good and have an amazing relationship. But having a co-founder, I think, is super important, because I don't know if we would be able to do this alone, because there are some hard times where you are past the line, maybe the other one is not, and then the other person tells you, no, don't worry, everything is going to be good. In the end, it's going to be good. If not, it's not the end. And the support from a co-founder, I think, is an essential part of being successful in a startup, or at least of making it through a longer period.
To remember, hey, the goal is not tomorrow, it's maybe in 2 or 3 years, so just keep calm.
Don't worry, we are doing it fine, no?
So what would you recommend to other startup founders in terms of productivity and work-life balance?
For me, the key thing is passion. I would say passion or love, call it as you like, because you are going to invest so much time, so much energy, resources, and the uncertainty is everywhere, so you never know if what you are doing is really going to work or not, especially at the beginning. So if you love what you do, you have the passion, I think this is going to be the energy, the drive that you need to keep going. And if you have this, it's like the root, no? Having a good foundation for a building.
One thing about how you manage your time Maybe it's depending on the person, right? But I think it's important also to even manage your time in terms of leisure time, because if you don't save a time for you to rest, to go to the park, to walk to meet with your friends, sometimes you are that focused on your task that suddenly it's 10 p.m. and then you don't have time for chilling out because you are so tired. So sometimes we are trying to force ourselves to finish a bit early, to go to do some exercise, to go out for dinner, at least to release a bit our mind, because otherwise it's so easy, the time goes so fast that the time the day is over and you don't have any more time or energy to go out. So to save some time for yourself, for your leisure activities, and try to do that, because otherwise you just...
And you have to plan your fun and leisure time before the other stuff on your calendar.
For sure. And I think you can give everything while you work. You just give everything. You need to be completely focused. But also when you take some free time, and it's important to plan for this free time, you should completely disconnect. Because otherwise, if you are always, you are there, but you are not here exactly, you are having mixed feelings. In the long term, you are going to get the burnout. You need to find some time to recover, no?
I think a very clear example we always talk about this is, for example, the moment we like to run, to go jogging, but sometimes it's hard to get out of home. But we really enjoy when we are on the work, like working out. So that moment from staying at home, relaxed, very chill, warm, and putting the running shoes, going out, that moment is the hardest moment. But once you are out, you really enjoy. So sometimes I feel the same when working. When you are working, you say, oh, I want to finish this, or I want to send that email, or blah, blah, blah. And then the time just still passing, and then suddenly it's 2 hours later. So you need to find a time to say, okay, at this point, I will finish. And if there is something in between, maybe I can do it tomorrow. Actually, maybe it's not that important. Of course, if there is something important, you need to finish. But I think to be disciplined is very important. Going out for working out or finishing up, all these things are very important.
You want to work 8, 10, 12 hours. You want to go out and have food. You want to train, to work out. You want to read a book. You want to watch Netflix. You want to have a social life, meet your friends. And you want to sleep 8 hours a day, and there's only 24 hours, no? So
yeah, that's why it's to plan everything.
It's not easy, but I think it's important to plan for that purpose.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts, your point of view, and I wish you good luck with CodePass. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and see you in the next episodes.